Hi, this is Patrick Jackson. This is my Module 12 case study for EDL 854. Establishing the facts for this case, we see the president of a foundation for supplemental curriculum programs at an elementary school is convicted of a misdemeanor and placed on probation after he mishandled fundraising. The details of how he mishandled it were not given, but this occurred after an anonymous tip was given to the sheriff's department during a Raffle for Cash event. This happened at an elementary school where I am the principal. The elementary school is Braydale Elementary, and the people who were involved are myself, Mr. Santos, and the first year appointed president of the foundation, Mr. Barely. Looking at legal and ethical issues, first we take a look at who's been harmed in the situation, and unfortunately Mr. Barely, who's been convicted of the misdemeanor. This is a situation where under certain protocol, a building leader tries to protect everybody who's involved and try to eliminate the chance for risk of mishandling fundraising. Also myself, Mr. Santos, the building leader, has been embarrassed by the negative publicity that came out of this event, as well as the foundation's reputation has been damaged for the mishandling of the fundraising money. Okay, any laws that have been broken, uncertain based on what the details of the charges were, but making the assumption that it was theft, fraud, or possibly a violation of the raffling regulations in the state or county could have been legal implications that he was charged with. In my own words, exactly what happened is my school and I were embarrassed by the publicly humiliating arrest of my supplemental curriculums program foundation president after an anonymous tip was given to the sheriff's department regarding a Raffle for Cash fundraiser event after it was mishandled. Analyzing the facts of this case, we have to look at the people who were involved, including myself, Mr. Santos. As a building principal, I found myself to be well prepared to manage all aspects of my building, including finances and fundraising, and in an oversight did not provide the correct controls to prevent a situation such as this. We also see the foundation president, Mr. Barely, who's the president of the Briardale Elementary School. He's a first-year president of that foundation and has different motivations, one in which includes wanting to create the largest fundraising event possible, hopefully to raise as much money. He's also driven by competition from another foundation president in the district, Mr. Morley, who is also a graduate of Harvard, along with Mr. Barely, who found themselves in different competitive situations in the past, which you can make an assumption that drives a little bit of the competition for Mr. Barely in this situation. The place that this takes place is Briardale Elementary School, which is described as being in a diverse community and also serves as a community center for different needs of the community. The school itself is an elementary school that has 600 students. In this district, the curriculum is focused on basic skills instructions, and it's centrally managed. And so the building itself does not get to control funding for curriculum. All curriculum is meant to go towards basic skills instructions. And that's why the foundations are created, is to supplement curriculums for art, music, and foreign language and other curriculums and programs. But art, music, and foreign language have been supported in the past by the foundation and by myself, the principal. It's also worth noting that the isolation of curriculum funding by the district leads to confusion and competition, is something that was pointed out in the description of the case for foundation funding of supplementary curriculum programs. When reviewing and prioritizing this information, and we look at how does the situation affect the stakeholders, obviously being a community center and being a use of community resources, the community and the staff could lose faith and trust in the foundation system being misused. Other stakeholders that include students, faculty, families, and other parts of the district, our individual school's reputation is damaged. We could lose foundational funding through the mishandling of this fundraiser that would support some supplemental curriculum programs if people chose not to support after they noticed the headlines of the foundation president getting arrested. Other things that we need to take into consideration when we're reviewing and prioritizing this information is policies and other things that were overlooked, things that I could look into further to better understand the situation. Could look to see if there's any other foundation members who had any knowledge of the situation or could be consulted. I could myself interview Mr. Barely to see if I could get the exact story from him, as well as reviewing and adjusting the foundation protocol to see where there's holes and gaps. Options and possible consequences that I developed for this specific case include option one, which is proceed as usual. This would be a situation in which I don't particularly take much action. I would continue with the current foundational policies and protocol, probably finding somebody new to fill the role of Mr. Barely. I would probably acknowledge the situation publicly, make a statement, but just do that as a means to move on with what we're doing. Option two would be a reevaluation, reviewing and rewriting the foundation protocol. This would hopefully create a more comprehensive format to have better control over future fundraising and foundation proceedings. I would incorporate more controls as I made those reviews. I would look to have one of those controls being segregating responsibilities so that one person was not in a situation that they were in charge of all funds. I'd have a log or ledger to keep to make sure that as money is moved or money is kept or taken in, that it's receipted properly so that there is accountability and tracking available, as well as making sure that there's training for foundation members so that they can avoid putting themselves or being in that situation. Other options that I looked at to explore, or the main option I looked at outside of options 1 and 2 would be to make a BOE request to revise curriculum funding protocol. This would be more of a district change, not just a building change, but be looking at revising how the foundation system works if they want to keep it, possibly discontinuing the foundation system and delineate funding for optional curriculum rather than just basic skills curriculum, or possibly having a less centrally managed funding system where building leaders could dictate where their funding went to. In evaluating my options, option 1, proceeding as usual, some of the pros and cons that I developed as I looked at those would be that there wouldn't be a rebuilding process with the community or stakeholders' trust. That wouldn't do anything to fix them possibly losing faith in us, as well as potential funding gaps that can occur from people losing faith in our system. The only pro that I had for that, which I didn't put on here, would it would just be time saving to not sit down and have to review it, but then you'd be dealing with headaches later in the future. Option 2, with the reevaluation, you could potentially have funding gaps. You could lose time because it is going to take time to develop it and revise it, as well as losing personnel in the form of current foundation members having to be replaced and maybe bringing in new people. But this would ensure that there's less risk for such a situation to occur again. And with our other options, taking it to the district and making it a change at the district level, it would take probably a considerable amount of time. More hands would be involved. Could possibly burn bridges depending on how big or small the district is and how many people are involved. Some people may not like their ideas being challenged. This could, though, better ensure equity over time for all buildings and eliminate some of that competition and confusion that I spoke on before. In making a decision on the best option, I chose option number 2, reevaluating our current system in the building. I don't know for sure that the district is going to make a change at my request. That would be up for the board to decide on and vote on. And rather than waiting on that or taking a chance, I could just make change in my own building. I could revise the foundation protocols as an opportunity to also get more people and more stakeholders involved and to provide more transparency. And this also would help to implement more controls to ensure that a similar situation doesn't occur, such as it did with Mr. Barely. Implementing my decisions, some steps that I would need to take in choosing my path would be reviewing the standing foundation protocols, paying attention and noticing policies that create holes and blind spots where misconduct can occur or tracking is not available. By identifying these, we can implement controls that eliminate those holes and those blind spots. And hopefully this will also give us a chance to incorporate some community and stakeholder input as we create new protocols. This also could ensure that, or we could also use an opportunity to open up spots in the foundation for community members, not just parents. Didn't give specific details on who all was involved in the foundation, but this would be an opportunity to make sure that all voices are heard, maybe even possibly all the way down to the student level. And this would ensure that new policies align with district policies as well as state and federal law. Furthermore, we can provide training and education on new protocol to ensure all new members of the foundation are educated on the protocol policies and laws. And this would also include consequences, hopefully, and unfortunately, as a deterrent for any other misconduct in the future. If a newly revised foundation protocol does not solve the problem, a couple other places we could look is to go to that option 3 and take it to a district level or a board of education level and see if we can make some changes there. That way, if they can't take place in our building, it might take more time, but it can happen over time district wide, which I would see as a way to eliminate some of the gaps and inequality in funding between the different schools.